Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. And thank you for inviting Swedbank to this prominent event. My name is Jennifer Florido, and I am the head of talent and leadership at Swedbank Group. And today I have the pleasure to represent the work that Swedbank, and especially Swedbank Latvia, has performed in order to maintain a competitive position in a fast-moving talent market. In other words, how we at Swedbank skill for resilience. So if we could see the slide as well. Perfect. So today, Swedbank Latvia is proud to be consistently recognized as a top employer. Over the years, we've maintained a strong position as top employer, most desired potential employer, top employer in finance sector, in the top 3 for IT employees, and top employer for students. And one of the main reasons for these awards and recognitions has been for our dedication to development opportunities for our employees. Next slide, please. At Swedbank, we benefit from 20 years of an established learning culture and extensive offering in the development area. We offer, for example, 300 internal trainings, but also coaching, speaking partners, mentorships, and dedicated leadership days. But this learning contract is not one-sided. We believe that every employee influences our culture of work, how we succeed as a business, and how we increase our customer satisfaction. So to this end, we want our employees to be forward-leaning and accountable, inclusive and driven by innovation in their work, and create value for our customers. So as much as we support them, our employees, in conducting value-adding work and providing them with learning opportunities, we also put a lot of expectations on them. We expect them to take the lead in their relevance at work, staying competitive in their role and their overall employability by proactively managing their development. Next slide, please. So why do we choose to make this development investment in our employees? As financial services continues to transform as an industry, so does the demands it has on its talents. So to win this war on talent, we've shifted our approach to the talent market to mirror more the approach that you would envisage us having towards attracting our customers, namely approaching potential candidates in segments, adapting messages and value propositions based on needs, and monitoring their engagement levels with our brand over time. We need to appeal to potential candidates based on qualities that makes us stand out from competitors, such as our organizational values, our benefits, our employee value proposition. And this is where development fits in. Continuous learning and development opportunities are at the heart of this employee value proposition that we market. But now, with the fast introductions and changes in regulation, we also see this investment and development in our employees as both a way of maintaining a right to play in the market, as well as creating a competitive advantage. This is especially true when, for certain roles and skills, we've needed to tailor our own certification processes and curriculums for current and future employees at a faster pace than the market would be able to provide for us. Next slide, please. So how do we keep one step ahead of what we need, what skills to invest in? We apply strategic long-term planning to our workforce. In other words, we invest in strategic workforce planning across Swedbank. We view people as a component of organizational capability alongside technology and processes, and invest in people analytics so that leaders can make data-driven decisions on what capabilities they need at the right place at the right time in order to deliver the value that we need across Swedbank. So we draw on the external factors such as talent trends and insights. Many of those that have been presented at today's events is something that we regularly seek to include and become smarter in. And this includes regulatory changes, talent market conditions, and then we combine this with our own needs in our strategic direction, our own investments and prioritization in our technology. And we use all of this together in order to model the impact on our workforce. So for example, answering questions such as what are the top strategic priorities, and what skills does it require to achieve them? What tasks and skills could potentially be automated with the introduction of a technology in order to provide our employees with more capacity to grow into new areas? Also, how can technology investment in certain areas impact women or men disproportionately, having a knock-on effect on our diversity and inclusion agenda, something that's been brought up a lot during the course of the day. We also explore which tasks and skills could emerge to augment the use of technology. So during the course of today, we've also heard a lot of examples around this, that even if we were to digitalize a process or automate something, we still need to have and add that human factor. And that's still something that we would need as a skill set to augment the use of technology. And then last but not least, a very important part, which is which tasks and emerging roles could be added and that we need to seek out in the market or recruit ourselves or make ourselves as a result of external factors such as regulations. So we run this analysis to identify what we call no regret capabilities. It's something that Zana made some references to earlier. And we see these capabilities as investments for us as an organization, but also for our employees. So to explain what these no regret capabilities are, so they are what we call capabilities that we feel confident after running our models and our analysis that we will need in our organization, regardless of the future scenarios that we have modeled as potentials. So following our recent analysis, the no regret capabilities we've identified for ourselves and that we're investing in echo a lot of the top areas that have been presented today. And they are agile and technology, data literacy, regulatory and risk management, advisory, and partnership management. So knowing more how to work with third parties as we evolve as an organization. Now that we've identified those, we embed these capabilities and analysis into our annual business planning cycles. We integrate the skill requirements into our people processes, such as talent acquisition, career development, and learning and development, so that it comes to life and that people can recognize this along the way. This also guides our engagements with external parties, so university development partners, and also helps fuel our diversity and inclusion agenda in order to stay one step ahead, but also assess the sourcing options that are most viable to tap into that talent market today. So to illustrate this in more practical terms, and a clear example of this was we recently needed to invest additionally in IT, anti-money laundering, and know your customer skills. And we needed to do this at such a high volume and pace that the market could not meet our demand. Even if we had this strong employer brand, it was still not enough. We basically, the people were not out there. So we reached the stage that we had over 500 open positions on a constant basis across the group. We used our strategic workforce planning analysis to determine that it would actually be most efficient and effective for us to create our own internal curriculums rather than to seek candidates with these skills already ready to go in the market. We needed to instead recruit and adjust our talent acquisition strategy to recruit based on potential and later upskill them in the qualifications needed once they were employed by us. This involved partnering with providers to accredit our employees. This solved part of the problem and made sure that we had a pipeline in the areas that we needed, but we didn't only see this as an external recruitment strategy. This opportunity was also offered to our current employees, where we set up internal upskilling and reskilling programs to also be able to apply based on potential and move into more future-proof jobs. Next slide, please. So, to illustrate the impact of this forward planning on our people, we decided that we wanted to share a story with you based on Inga. So Inga is a persona that we've created for the most commonly found role in our bank. namely a client consultant. The descriptors that we've put here are the most typical for our colleagues in this role, and we recruit approximately 60 new colleagues in this role every year in Latvia. As part of our strategic workforce planning process, we modeled the impact of technology, regulations, and trends on Inga's role to be able to find out how we can best meet and help Inga to face the future, as it were. Next slide, please. In the short term, as a result of the pandemic and regulation, we modeled that Inga's role would need to evolve into one that is predominantly advisory based and predominantly done through remote channels. This would trigger and did trigger a need for upskilling in the short term. So that helped us be able to prioritize what did we need to provide here and now. But also, if we were to look a couple of years ahead, 3 or 5, depending on the technologies that we choose to invest in, we also modeled what could be the long-term impact of Inga's role and what would be the sustainable support that we can find and already now start preparing Inga for alternative professional career paths over time. This in turn would trigger the need for a reskilling program. Based on the content of Inga's current role, and the shortest job corridors for Inga to transition into. In other words, what's the shortest path between her current role into a future role? And those that were the shortest or the most practical based on her current tasks and skills and what we would need in the future would be that of, for example, a project manager, a business analyst, a know your customer specialist, or a product specialist. And all of these are relevant and value adding for the bank now and for the future as well. Next slide, please. So all of these alternative career paths involve learning new skills, and this takes time. So this is the biggest difference with working in the people space than working maybe in technology or otherwise. We do need to be and take that responsibility of thinking those years ahead, because it doesn't work overnight just to get what you're looking for. We do need to carry and have a way to bridge the capabilities from now into the future. So we would advise Inga, in this case, to start our upskilling journey as soon as possible. And to support Inga on this transition, the bank offers learning solutions following the 70-20-10 rule. It starts with career consultations, followed by formal role-based curriculums, such as our project management upskilling program or data academy reskilling programs. And these are then supported by role onboarding, which is a very big part of implementing and bringing the job to life, shadowing options, role rotation options, into really getting to learn on the job. To complement this more A to B type transition of roles that we've illustrated, we also in parallel have invested in an online learning options to be able to keep our course and library up to date and ready available, democratize learning, if you will, to all employees on an ad hoc basis. So if we were to bring the example back to Inga, we could say, because Inga is already engaged in regular online training, she's already started her journey to leaning into a future-proof role if in case one of these scenarios were to emerge, because like for a business analyst, because she's already done several career path courses around data analysis. Next slide, please. So what are our top tips if we were to boil all of this work that we're doing, if we were to provide advice, or if we needed to think about what do we feel that has worked well or that we would encourage others to do? We pulled together advice on an individual, organizational, educator, and policymaker level who are also eager to contribute to reskilling for resilience. Next slide, please. For individuals, our top tip is to be your own leader. Now, this has really been echoed through the course of today, but really you're in the driver's seats. So take your employability into your own hands, make learning a daily habit, plan time regularly to either attend courses, conferences, tap into networks and events, know where the talent market is and move towards and lean into it. Next slide, please. For organizations, our top tip is to build on this self-leadership in individuals and establish a learning culture. So work really on building a routine, a culture around learning, where every role that you have in your organization is an opportunity for someone to learn and to develop in their next stage. And that every leader sees it as part of their role to develop their employees to their full potential. To support this, we recommend investing in in development platforms as part of your strategic agenda. Consider thinking about developments as a whole as a big part of keeping sustainable and competitive in the future. These kinds of learning platforms can be linked to ad hoc skills interest. It can be embedded into employee development plans. For example, for us, more than 60% of Swedbank Latvia employees have registered to the platforms we've chosen, and we complemented this with our internal curriculums for specific job roles and soft competencies and integrated into regular performance management. So it's really in the woodwork of what we expect of employees and how we work. Next slide, please. For educators and policymakers, well, I believe that a lot of our fellow presenters today have had very strong messages around this area. I suppose that for us, what we would like you to do is to encourage you to join forces, not only with each other, but with organizations and with us, such as ours, to identify what are those arising skills needed to upskill the nation and our labor market in something that we already know that we can put to good use and to employ, and to increase the national competitive advantage as a whole. Next slide, please. So, as with all initiatives worth the endeavor, we will all need these parties that we've just spoken about in this talent ecosystem to play their part. And we truly believe that by working together, we will make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's really fascinating what Swedbank is doing, both developing its organization, but also leading the way how organizations or companies should work with their training development program. So I hope you will continue sharing your experience. And actually, in your last 3 slides, you answered all my questions. So I'm down to just I'm down to just one, which I will ask. And the question is concerning certain benchmarks for companies. Even small, medium enterprises that Swedbank is actually leading bank for. As we know, it's roughly 70% or so which are banking with Swedbank. But I oftentimes find that companies don't have any benchmarks, you know, how many % of their staff should have gone through some kind of training within a year. You just mentioned one figure. How much of budget or time should be devoted. So if you could give couple or 1, 2 benchmarks, I think it's very important as you're leading in this way.
I don't believe I have those benchmarks, and I'm unsure whether benchmarks are the way forwards on it, because I think it really depends on what it is, that kind of learning behavior you're looking to encourage. I think it's more important actually to encourage the behaviors of leaning in and bringing it more into the bedrock of what you're expecting your employees to do, rather than to say, oh, here's 60% or 100%. It needs to be based on the results that you're looking to see and the types of areas that you're looking to promote.
Thank you, Jennifer. So we're back to the main message, which is habit and culture of learning, which I think is something that all the speakers today mentioned over and over again. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing and being our partner. Thank you.